The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Café.
Welcome to this episode of Pit Life BBQ. Gather around the pit with your hosts, Johnny Maggs and Greg the Barbecue Broker DiGiorgio. Let's talk barbecue.
What's up, everybody? Coming to you live from the Studio 21 Podcast Café in Salem, New Hampshire. It's Pit Life BBQ Podcast, where we talk everything barbecue and a lot of other topics that you normally talk around the pit. As always, I'm joined by the Barbecue Broker.
Yes, sir.
Hi, buddy.
Hey, pal.
What is happening?
How was delivering the mail in the snow today?
What snow? It didn't start snowing until today, on the way up.
Yeah.
You had a little flurry here and there, but that didn't count. But your heat if it doesn't stick, it don't count.
Yeah, but your heat has been broken, I guess.
Nah, I got a new truck. I threw my truck up last night, so they took that away.
They like you at work, apparently. They give you new trucks whenever you ask.
Oh, they're not new. Oh, sorry. New to me. This truck is still 25 years old. No, don't get me wrong. So what's going down?
Not a hell of a lot. My smoker has been delayed a day.
So the stalk is on the way, though.
Get it out of the way, so we don't have to talk about it, because of pit anxiety like you read about. They push it till tomorrow at 1 p.m. It's supposed to be picked up in an hour. They're picking up 2 other cars, and they're bringing it here. I'm last to be picked up, first to be dropped off. So
okay,
I should have it by next Monday, I would think.
Okay.
Until then, I won't sleep. No big deal.
You don't sleep now. You text me at like 3 o'clock in the morning. What are you doing? Sleeping.
That's what realtors do. We sleep late and we work late.
Nice. Yeah. So I'm excited today. So we got the chit chat through. Woo. But today's show is brought to you by.
It is, and always brought to us by Uncle Steve's Shake. Hey, did you ever stop to wonder when your neighbor has a barbecue? He's got a line of people just waiting to get in his backyard. But yet, when you have a barbecue, nobody's coming. The simple answer to that question is that your neighbor is using Uncle Steve's Shake, and apparently you're not, which means one thing: you better get you some. Look, Uncle Steve's Shake is handmade using only the finest ingredients, and now comes in actually over 8 amazing flavors, including the new competition line. If you can eat it, Uncle Steve has a shake for it. If you have any shake questions, Uncle Steve has fantastic customer service. They'll talk you through all your shake needs. It's time to take your backyard barbecue game to the next level with Uncle Steve's Shake. Shake some on everything.
Very nice.
Hey, check them out, UncleSteveShake.com. And today's show is also brought to you by
Two Guys, our friends at Two Guys Smoke Shop and TwoGuysCigars.com. Whether we are barbecuing or not, we always keep the smoke rolling thanks to our friends at TwoGuysCigars.com. Today we are smoking the CLE.
Delicious.
1118. Thanks to our friends from TwoGuysCigars.com, we get to smoke some of the best cigars in the world, and so can you. Just visit TwoGuysCigars.com for your perfect barbecue companion. That's the number 2GuysCigars.com.
Notes of plum, very delicious, I must say.
Oh, yeah. CLE Christian, he's awesome.
Delicious.
Fantastic. So you ready for this?
Well, speaking of fantastic, we have a fantastic guest today.
Oh, yes, we do.
Would you like to do the intro?
I'm still giddy.
I know, we always talk too much before the guest, and I feel like we have a lot to talk about, a lot of ground to cover.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to introduce our guest today. You man wears multiple hats.
Many.
Butcher. Barbecue champion, TV personality, podcaster. I'm not exactly 100% sure on restaurateur of how much he has his hands in. I know it's his son mostly, but you never know.
Okay.
Husband, father, grandfather. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to us from Wellston, Oklahoma, the one and only Mr. David Bouska.
Yes, sir.
David, how are you?
Hey, everybody.
Good to have you, David.
Johnny, Greg.
Good to have you, man.
I don't think I realized this. Did you say you was in Salem, New Hampshire?
Salem, New Hampshire. No, don't jump the gun. Don't read my notes yet. I actually went back
we're going
and listened to your episode with our mutual friend Billy Gillespie today, and I caught something in there, and I'm like, I didn't hear that the first time. So, actually, we'll go right to it. You are an Oklahoma boy, but you have a connection to the state of New Hampshire.
Yes, I do.
Kidding.
Yes, I do. I used to live there.
You're a former New Englander?
Well, I lived there about 2 years.
Okay.
Work took me up that way. I was one of the first meat markets there with the Sam's Club. When I went to work for Sam's Club, there was only 14 meat markets in the whole company. And I opened up Nashua, opened up Seabrook. Then I kind of stayed in Seabrook, but then I went around on up to Bangor, Maine. And then we had a club down in just right outside of Boston, opened up that one. And we did Westboro, Mass, different places down that way. And I ended up going down to Jersey and did one down at East Brunswick, New Jersey. And then I just asked him, I said, folks, I've got to go back home. I was done with the highway world.
Yeah. When I was listening to it today, I'm like, oh, you lived in New Hampshire. I go, how did I miss that the first time? Because when you were talking, obviously your accent and Billy's accent, it was,
Yeah, there's a big difference whenever you ask for tea down here and you go up there and ask for tea and they hand you a bottle of, goodness, I drew a blank. Get that canned tea. I forget what it's called.
Oh, the Lipton Brisk or Arizona.
Yeah.
Arizona iced tea. That's it. They hand you that and you look at them and go, no, I want iced tea. Well, we'll pour it over ice.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So there is the New Hampshire, New England connection, which was funny. I was laughing today when I heard it.
Kidding.
Yeah, I lived in Epping.
Yeah.
Okay,
where the racetrack is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exit
cool.
7. Yeah, exit 7 off of 101.
Do you race any of your smokers around the track? Or?
All I took up there was a Weber.
That's good times right there.
Sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah. We cooked a few briskets while we were there. I remember the grand opening weekend, I'd bought a case of briskets, and I remember we had to throw 3 of them away because I bought the other 2, and no one else up there knew what they were. They went out of date.
Yep.
That's kind of part of the battle we have here. That's part of our mission.
That's it.
It really is.
We are on a mission to put New England on the barbecue map.
Yeah, just to let people know, it's not so much we have our own style of cooking. It's more or less that we understand the traditions and the styles and what goes into true barbecue.
Like I always say, New England is the crock pot of barbecue, because we have, the Texas style, Memphis style, Carolinas, get a little bit of everything.
Oklahoma style.
I have Oklahoma style.
The Friday night potluck, if you will, of barbecue.
Right. Try to
New
honor
England ball.
Exactly. Just trying to honor all the traditions and, maybe give it a little twist here and there of New England flair when appropriate.
That's it. So, David, thank you for taking some time to join us. Like I said, I'm very excited. Been excited, since last week when we had first spoken and we set up the date. But for anybody who, might have been born yesterday and doesn't know who you are, who is David Bouska and what is Butcher Barbecue?
David Bouska is a 6'5" galoot. That sums it up. You don't believe me? Ask the wife. No, I was born and raised. I actually live right now probably 3 miles from where I was raised on a farm. We was raised on an Angus farm just right down the road. My wife was raised on a dairy farm probably about a mile from the warehouse right here. Okay. So she was just raised right here on the other side of town. I grew up in this very town right here, went on to cut meat for just a few other companies, come back, opened up my own meat market, did the old-fashioned style. We still went out and did the farm kill, slaughtered the meat, did it all. That was pretty well it. I did a whole lot of competition archery and blew my back out. That's how I got into barbecue cooking. Okay. It was kind of crazy. My old male competitive juices were still flowing, and I had to go win at something because I was not winning at the house. That was a given. I'm not going to win that battle. It didn't matter what happened. So I had to go find someone I could win against. And, well, let's be real, fellas. It's just going to be guys. Don't matter whose wife it is. So, and took up barbecue. And I never thought that I'd get into it ahead of anybody with what I knew in the meat world, but I thought I'd come in equal maybe with a few and then pick up some pointers. And I did. That's where I got started. And I won my first grand champion, I think my second year cooking. And we attended the American Royal starting that second year, and we never missed it till year before last. My dad passed that week, and so for obvious reasons. But we don't miss the Royal. We love it. And yeah, we just keep on cooking, man. I just love it. I just absolutely love it.
Nice.
Now, I know a lot of guys, I cook barbecue, but I don't even eat it that much. Do you like to eat your own barbecue?
No, I don't eat much barbecue. I had a couple friends come in, and I met them down at the restaurant Friday, and I ate a brisket sandwich and a dill of beans, and I told them, I said, this might be the first barbecue I ate since the last contest.
Do you do a lot of backyard cooking when you're home just chilling, or practicing? I see you practice. Like, do you do a lot of practice in the backyard when you're not, on the comp circuit, or nothing?
No,
you don't even try to.
I try to do some practice cooking whenever I know I feel like I'm lagging on something, and so I've got almost 3 months before our first contest here in Oklahoma. So in March, I'll kick off and I'll start doing some chicken and some ribs. I feel that that's my 2 weak points. It's not that the chicken is bad. I think I've went overboard just a little bit with it. So I'm gonna tone it down just a tad. And the ribs, my downfall with ribs is it's hard for me to find good ribs. It's just when I think I've got a good outlet, that dries up, and then I'm looking for the next 90 days and I find another one, and it lasts about 30 days. So my main goal is, I've been looking since probably October trying to find a good outlet for ribs that can stay consistent all year long. I think that's the biggest thing with ribs. So what is it? Finding the great product.
So finding the great product. Now, what do you look for in that product? Obviously, I'm assuming a lot of marbling, but anything else that you're looking for in a rack of ribs or from a supplier?
Yeah, actually, there's a couple little things that I look for. First thing I look for is I cook on pellets. I'm a pellet head.
We're going to talk about that.
I need to have great, big, thick ribs to hold up in my cooking cycle in my pellet cooker, so that it absorbs enough smoke. If I get a thin rib, it'll dry out real bad before it can get the right smoke content that I like. So a thick rib is important. And then I also look at the age of the rib. You can kind of tell the age of the pork when you look at the bones on it. So I always look for a younger pig, but it's bigger, so that I like a younger pig when I'm trying to find them to buy.
Interesting. So you can tell that from the bones.
About the third bone down from the brisket end. If it's flat and almost oval, it's coming from an older animal, because it actually lays on it longer and throughout its lifestyle. But if it's a more rounder bone, it's actually going to be a younger pig. But yeah, absolutely, you can tell. And
I know exactly what he's talking about, those wide bones. Sometimes you get those wide bones, and sometimes you're like, where's the wide bones?
Yeah.
I never had a really answer to that question.
So young pig versus old pig. That's very interesting.
And they're all going to weigh about the same, 3.5, 4 pound for a St. Louis, or say a 5 to 6 on a full cut spare. But then you'll also find the younger one that's going to weigh the same thing. So which one's going to be actually a more natural, tender animal? The younger one. It didn't take that long to get there, so its muscles hasn't been used that much. So yeah, I always look for that. And then I flip a rib over, and on that skirt meat on the backside, if that skirt meat has marbling in it, then that has stored enough fat that I know it's on the front side and it's just not on the surface. It's just like me. You can cut into my skirt meat, and I'm going to have marbling clear down to my rib bones. But if that way, you can tell if the marbling is just on the surface or if it's in the meat. Because if it's stored away the protein, then you know it's in the meat.
That makes a lot of freaking sense. Would never obviously know that. Now that's a butcher thing, right? You know these things because you do this.
Now it comes to the really one of the first questions. How much in your professional barbecue career? How much? I don't know, would you call it an advantage almost? Or how much did being a butcher professionally help in your barbecue career? Of, knowing the proteins, knowing the cuts, specific things. Would you actually have like a slighter edge over, just a regular comp cook?
It's almost a multi-part question, but let's start with when I started. There's a lot of guys out there that knew a lot more than I do, and there's a lot of guys out there still know more than I do. Now, what I did when I went in, the very first contest I went to, I was injecting meat to where it wasn't real broad spread back then. I was using product that we was using in the meat markets, that I had in the meat market that we were using on multiple things, either in vacuum tumblers or in an injection process. So, in 2006, I was injecting before it was really popular. And that's how I got started with that product, with our product. So I think it helped me an advantage already knowing and understanding that and already utilizing it way before other people. But as far as cooking, no, there was a lot of people knew a lot more than I did as far as the process of cooking. No doubt about that.
Okay.
But the whole process of cooking starts at the meat selection.
Yeah,
so
and that's absolutely right. And I think important. One of the advantages is when we was on Pitmasters, whatever they threw at you, I always had something to reference back to because I was used to either another protein or something like it. So it was always an advantage, maybe to that point also.
Especially for those surprise, how they come up with those surprise challenges.
Like
that
those
if you don't
three-eyed
pass,
snakes and things like that.
But like for any weird or odd cuts, right, that they're going to throw at you, like a lamb ass or mutton or whatever, you know what I mean? Just whatever, just something, just totally a gator or something off the beaten path, it probably would help just having maybe an idea of what those cuts are. I think that's a pretty good thing to know. So I think that's definitely helpful. I can see that being very helpful. Absolutely. Pretty damn cool.
Yeah, we actually have our first question from the chat here, and we're gonna jump to cooking whole hog real quick. And Frank Michael asked, "Do you prefer a racing style instead of the butterfly when it comes to cooking whole hog?"
When I've cooked a whole hog, it's been laying on its back.
Okay.
I'm still a believer that whenever we're going to cook one, I want all that moisture to stay in that skin. I have only done one racing style, and I did it at the house just in case we were throwing one of those at one of the shows. So when I did test it, I was not pleased with that. I wasn't happy with it. So I did flip it back over, and that's all I've ever done ever since.
I like the race. I like how the racing style looks. It looks cool, but that butterfly, like you said, the skin's on it. So
racing would be just on the spit, right? Basically,
in a spit, or they call it a trotting
up.
Yeah, looks like you're still standing on all fours.
Yeah.
I like the butterfly because, like you had said, the skin, it's almost its own bowl. Oh, yeah. So all your injections, your mops, your seasoning, it's just all there.
Helps steam, too. Yeah. While it cooks, you're steaming the meat from the skin. And then do you make crackle after with the skin? Do you crisp it up or anything? You salt it beforehand to crisp it up or do anything with crackle?
Not well for a whole hog?
Yeah.
No. Once it's cooked, it's cooked.
Okay.
What we always did was we just would rub it with some olive oil, and that'll help tan it out a little better. But that's all we did to the skin.
Okay. Just use it more as a vessel in presentation afterwards.
Yep.
How'd you get into comp barbecue?
I broke my back and couldn't shoot a bow. I thought we went through this.
Right.
It takes a couple times, David.
No. But honestly, I was just flipping through a little local newspaper, and I seen something that said about barbecue competitions.
Right.
And I told Wilma and everything. I said, I think I could probably do that. I'd like to go watch one. And we went up to Stillwater, which is about 30 minutes north of me, and her and I walked around on a Friday night and met a couple guys, and we got to chatting with them. And I went back Saturday and walked around and stuck through the turn-ins and just I was one of those nosy pests that contest, and I said, I think I can do that.
Yeah, this is what I was looking for. Oh,
yeah,
that's good.
And I came home and I bought an FEC 100 smoker, which is a lot like what we used in the meat shops. We had the stand-up big stainless smokers that we did our bacon, hams, and sausages in. So I kind of understood the airflow of that, and I started testing and everything. It was, I absolutely found the Thomas Edison way of cooking chicken and ribs and butts and briskets. There are 99 ways of not to do it, and you find that one way that's good. I absolutely did a lot of that. Yes.
Just like the barbecue judge, and being a barbecue judge is great. You eat all that barbecue. Yeah, but you got to eat a lot of bad barbecue before you get to the good stuff.
That's true too. That's true too. It also helps that, we don't really have a ton of comps here in the North. You have the big Jersey one and maybe one or two in Maine, but you got a lot of options, I think, where you are centrally located for KCBS and pro circuit stuff, or just even amateur comps. We don't even have any amateur comps.
Well, we do with the NEBS, New England Barbecue Society.
Right.
They have a lot of,
and the one up in New Hampshire.
But like as far as KCBS, there's really only 4 in the area, and like one you said is in New Jersey.
Do a brisket comp, and you don't usually see like
we gotta have our own.
We do.
We're gonna have to. That's what we're gonna do.
Well, that'd be pretty.
We have to start our own.
We could do that.
I'm in.
We could do that. At least a minor league of like a farm team for the big leagues.
So it's funny you say that's how you got your start, David, because that's really how, a lot of us, me in particular, whenever I've, been on our friend Steve Ray from the Owl's Nest, I've been on his show and he's been on ours a couple times, and, we kind of the same answer. How did, Johnny, how did you start barbecuing? I wish I can tell you, I grew up as a kid, pulling at my dad's pant leg at the grill. I've never seen my father flip a burger in his life. My mother did the grilling, and, she was a hell of a cook, but grilling, it was how she liked it. And if it wasn't well done, you could get sick from it. So it was, it was eating hockey pucks with lettuce and tomato. But, they're like, where'd you get your inspiration? And I know you've probably heard this a million times, but make it 1,000,001. I got my inspiration from watching you, from watching Robbie, from Myron, Johnny, Diva, everybody.
Yep.
Everyone who was on the Pit Masters show was truly my inspiration. Lene Oxley, Big Mo.
Yep.
I don't want to leave anybody out. Tuffy, and because sitting there watching sitting on the couch on a weekend watching them, because I'd always watch it all day long.
I've seen every episode for every season, probably 2 or 3 times.
Oh, anyway, and it was one of those things. You're looking at it, and I'm like, the famous last words. I think I can do that. But on this one, I got into it, started, because I was always, grilling on the gasser, burgers, steaks, chicken, stuff like that. But then got into that low and slow methods and the briskets, the ribs, and just, literally, quote unquote, shigging you guys from my couch. Okay, I'm literally with a notepad sitting on the couch and going, okay, I'm going to try that this afternoon. I need this.
He did it in person, what CMAC calls barbecue creeping.
Yeah.
And you went barbecue creeping. And you were checking on, before you got into it, you were checking out the scene, getting hyped up for it. That's the way to do it. Yeah. We need to get our asses to some of these comps just to roll around, bother this guy, you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
Bother a bunch of people.
Bother a bunch of yourself down here in Oklahoma. We will put y'all to work.
Yep.
You can drive the trailer to the contest and drive it home.
I will do
hang out all weekend long. We don't care.
I'll do all the grunt work. I will hose blood. I'll do whatever you want. I'll be your apprentice. I will learn.
So first off, thank you for the start of my barbecue journey. The show, our Facebook groups, really stemmed from, watching you guys on TV.
100%.
Well, I appreciate it a lot. And we do hear that a lot. and it is truly appreciative. And we can tell, as a cook, we can tell every time they do a rerun. Absolutely. We get emails, we'll get some phone calls, we'll get Facebook messages, and it's very honoring that folks still watch it. So, hey, thank you.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, there is one question I can ask, but really can't because it's officially in market now.
Oh, okay.
The mud, the barbecue mud.
Yep.
Barbecue mud.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about this, didn't we?
I don't have any in here. I thought I did, but yeah, it's barbecue mud.
There was an episode. It was him and his son Levi.
Okay.
And they were cooking, I think, steaks on one of the shows.
Mm-hmm.
And Tuffy had asked, "Hey, what is that?" Because they saw him applying it to the ribeyes. And from I think what you said was all of a sudden behind you, Levi just kind of mumbled, "It's barbecue mud." And you came over and went, "It's barbecue mud, Tuffy." What the hell is barbecue mud?
And that was in 2018. And that had a live thread on one of the archery forums. Yes, there's still forum. I said archery. Good gravy. Barbecue forums. And yeah, there's still forums out there outside of Facebook. And it was still live and active this whole time. And I bet I tried the mud a dozen different ways, and I could never get it right until I decided, let's just liquefy it, because it was a paste.
Yeah.
And the problem I kept having was every time we would apply it, it would come out a little different. It'd be a little less salty. It'd be more salty. It'd be a little intense in flavor. It wouldn't be. And I could never actually understand why and how comes. But we used it at the house a lot with prime ribs. That's where I got started. And I started using it on my brisket. I loved it. I got a lot of top 5 calls with it. And until we liquefied it, that made it consumer friendly. And yes, it's on the market and it's a hot item. It's not just for beef. My goodness, this stuff is unreal good for vegetables, mushrooms, chicken. That's one thing I'm actually going to play with it on is some ribs. I'm going to try and apply it on the backside of my ribs for competition this year, just to see what it'll do.
There you go.
Nice.
Because that's where the tongue hits first. Get that flavor under there. Is that why you versed the top, or is it more of a presentation thing?
It's a presentation thing. Also, it's a black product, and it will discolor that meat. And so I don't want that discoloring, but I want the flavor.
Yep. Got it. Interesting. Do you take your membranes off the bottom?
Yes.
You do? Okay.
All but just a little bit. I leave some of it on there and I take some of it off.
Why do you leave some on?
Have you ever cooked ribs and had the ribs blow out from the bottom and you're like, I've oversteamed them or I've overcooked them and you not really know why?
Yeah, 2 days ago.
Well, I leave. Well, let me just. Hello. I flipped the computer around. Let me just give you a little visual, an Oklahoma visual.
All
okay.
Right.
That right there.
Yep.
That's it.
Okay. Yeah. You looking at the mud? I don't know if you can see this.
Oh, yeah.
Nah, you can't. I'll leave it alone. Anyway, where the rib bones are sticking down, that very bottom, I leave about 3/4 inch of the membrane along that very bottom edge.
Okay.
And that just cooks right. It peels right off and goes away. There's not a problem with that.
Okay.
Never has been.
Good.
But that just holds those bones in and keeps them from burning out the backside. That's why.
Okay.
That's a pro move right there.
Absolutely.
Hold on.
Yeah, go write it down.
Is that a comp trick or is that just a
no? I've used it in competitions for several years now.
Badass.
Nice. So with the Pitmasters shows, what was your overall experience with the whole process and the whole filming and everything?
The first series we did, I think we did 3 or 4 shows. I love doing them. They're absolutely fun. They will wear you smooth out. They are they will make you very tired. The first day, I'll give you a breakdown of it, how it all works.
Sure. Awesome.
We you show up, you're in casual dress. There's nothing special. You get set up, and the very, very, very first one we did, we had to meet at a hotel because you have to remember this is actually a game show. You don't think of it that way, but it's a game show for money. Maybe not just like Jeopardy, but it's not quite that kind of dollars. But so if you bet on it, or if you release the information of the game show, people bet on everything. And so if it can be traced back to you, the federal government, since the game show laws went into effect back in the 60s, they will levy $1 million fine against whoever they can find that released that information. That was dictated to us through a third party person that was with the game showing community. I'm not sure who he was with, but we had to sign contracts stating all this, that we understood the rules. And anytime during the show, if a rule got changed because it didn't, I don't know, I'm just throwing this out there, say it didn't work for someone because they had a broken leg and couldn't make it in for some reason or another. Okay, they would change your rules. Well, they would literally retype it and bring you a new set of rules. You need to sign this new set of rules. Through the finale we did with Lene and Rod, I'll bet we signed 3, maybe 4 different contracts.
Wow.
You never get a copy of any of them. Like, can I get a copy of that? And they're like, no, you don't need one. But you need to get that signed. We need to keep going.
That's what I tell my clients when they sign listing agreements.
Yeah. So there's things like that people don't realize. But day one, you show up, you get going, and they just kind of will get you familiar with your area, get that. And if there's a long cook, they are not there to change your way of cooking just for television. Okay. Let's say you get like that big green ham we got, the whole ham. Mm-hmm. They aren't there to make everybody's smoker fit into a 6-hour cook window. They still want good food for the judges. So day one, and this part is timed, at noon, they're going to say, okay, you will not receive, or you will not even find out what your short cook is. We will give you this green ham, and at noon, everybody can get started at the same time. Okay, so we're all sitting around, we do what we do. Then the next morning, and whatever time you start, let's say 7 in the morning, they'll say, now at 7 in the morning, we're going to give you the ice chest, and you will see your short cook for the first time. But here's your green ham. We just need you to say, this is how we want to cook it for this 12 hours we got today. Even though the food that you're going to present to the judges has already been cooking, so that it is still properly cooked. If you're like me, I was a pellet head, I have to cook a lot slower than someone cooking direct. Yeah. Okay. They could start whenever they wanted. I could start whenever I wanted. The purpose of the show is to turn in great food and get judged. Now, we would do good recipes for the show on all the short cooks. It was live. But then when they give you the long cooks, they would ask you to do a mock injection, a mock rub, or mock breakdown, whatever you wanted to do. And we're going to have you put this in your cooker, and everything you do, you got to do 6 times, it seems like. We need a camera guy standing here facing you while you do it. We need one over here at this angle. We need one over your shoulder. So you got to do the same thing like 6 times. It's ridiculous.
Man.
Okay. So it's fun. It's exhilarating, but my gosh, it's very exhausting having to do the same thing so many times.
Yeah. That's what Robbie Royal and Junior Urias both had said when they were on. You know, we got this. Next thing you know, they bring you another brisket. Okay, now trim it up, and because now we're going to film your hands and film you talking with how you're doing it. And he goes, you're just tired after. He goes, it was great time.
Hope they're buying the meat.
You're just tired.
Hope they're buying the meat for you.
But we didn't have to supply any of that.
Right, cool.
But you said something very interesting, that you're a pellet head.
Oh, yeah.
Now, is there a reason behind that? Or, obviously with barbecue, you have the traditionalists who, pellets, easy cookers and, set it, forget it type things.
Easy bake ovens.
But, I clearly admit I was at the very, when I first started, I was in that mind frame. But the more and more research and did, more and more people I did, I'm like, not so much. And I was saying to Greg today, I go, this conversation could pretty much end the whole pellet cooking and barbecue argument.
When you see guys like him, and my audio is cutting for some reason. When you see guys like him, and also the Pellet Envy,
Rod Gray.
It proves you wrong almost when you think, you can't turn out good barbecue on a pellet, but it really isn't just the vessel. There's so much more that goes into it that I'm learning and seeing guys like yourself crush it on a pellet.
And with the discussion we were having the other day about it, he's like, well, why do you say that? I'm like, you're really using the pellets, as in charcoal and wood, as BTUs, as a heat source. That pellet grill is not telling you how much rub to put on, how much fat to trim off, when to put your protein on, when to take it off, when to wrap it, when to unwrap it, when to spritz.
How long to let it rest.
That's pure knowing your cooker, being a pit master. Do you agree with that statement?
That's exactly right. That's exactly what we do. And so we call it pit mastering. And it's no different than if you're going to turn in or use great big logs or little bitty logs. Okay. My vessel of cooking is with the little bitty logs, and I have an electronic auger that turns it, but it doesn't know how to turn it until I tell it what to do. And then it goes into everything you just spoke of. Does it take out the elements that you would say the traditionalists think is fair or unfair? Well, if we want to talk fair and unfair, let's get rid of these metal casings that everybody's using. Let's dig a hole in the ground. Let's get some sticks and proper against it. Now we're barbecuing traditional.
Yep.
Okay. Now we've all evolved. If you're listening to this, you've evolved from rotary phones to internet. What do you like? If you're into the barbecue, you've evolved from cooking at home for family and friends and going for 50 cents on a dollar when you're trying to compete. You've evolved into that. We evolved with work. We evolved with everything. Do we all like it? No, there's some things about evolution that none of us are crazy about. But this is here, and it is another way of adding good food. Is it better? No. Is it easier? No, it's not, because I have to secure a 100% secure electric to where you don't. If electric goes out, you're not in trouble. I am. Is there benefits to it? Yes, there's benefits to it. And it's not any different than yours. If the wind's blowing hard, it changes us just like it changes you. If it's raining, it changes us just like it changes you. There's no difference. We pick our wood just like you pick yours. Yep. And it's sad that the sand is lines drawn in the sand that way, but it is. There's no difference. There's really not. You've got to master your pit. Pick whatever pit you want to cook on, and master your pit, master your protein, and master your turn-in boxes for competition. That's another element. So if you are the best at any of that, I want to beat the best at whatever they are.
Yep. Absolutely, absolutely. So another question is, what are the pits you're cooking on? What brand, what type?
They are FEC 100s. They are Fast Eddies by Cook Shack. They're made in Ponca City, Oklahoma. I cook on 2 of the 100s, and I cook on their pellet grill. It's called a PG 500.
Okay.
Those are the 3 main cookers I cook in competition.
So the pellet grill.
I have had a Yoder, I've had a Traeger, and I've liked all of them. And for different reasons, I've went to the PG 500 grill. I carried a drum around for a long time. Loved it. It cooked some great food.
Great food, yeah.
I just prefer the way some of this other stuff works for my system. My system's my system. Yours is yours. Not saying yours is wrong. Not saying mine's right. I'm just saying it works for my system. And my system starts from how I trim my meat, what I choose for my meat. It works for my system. And that's what it's all about. You got to get something that works and stick with it.
Awesome.
Do you add do you find that your pellets your pellet grills add enough smoke? Do you add a pellet tube to any of your vessels at all to add additional smoke? I know some pellet guys do that.
I add the tube to my burn ends and my butts.
Okay. All right, cool. Good. When application presents itself.
And, as far as, cooking on a pellet cooker, pellet smoker, however, I think at least with you, David, the proof is in the pudding.
Absolutely.
These, I got 3 dates here of, couple, I guess you would call them, backyard events. 2012 World BBQ Champion, a 2018 Jack Daniel's Grand Champion,
sick,
2018 Reserve Grand American Royal. Those are nothing to, little backyard competitions right there.
Yeah.
It's little ones.
Just little. Yeah.
Little ones, What were the experiences of getting those calls? Because those are the granddaddies of them all.
Yeah, we'll start with the 2012. That was held out in Las Vegas. We cooked in a back parking lot of the Paris Hotel.
Yep.
The casino and hotel. There was about, I think, 80, 90, maybe 100 barbecue teams from all over the country were there. I mean, they came in from everywhere. And I remember, and sauce was a category at that one. And let's see, chicken was not. Kind of crazy. Yeah. Chicken was not a category, but sauce counted as a category. And we got, I don't remember the actual placings we got, but at the awards that evening, we were sitting there and they says, okay. And they named them all the way down to top 10. And they says, we're not going to name who wins what. We just want these folks to, and we had to go up to the front out on Las Vegas Boulevard. They moved us from the back lot to Las Vegas Boulevard to announce the winners. And we're sitting there and we knew we was in the top 10, but we didn't know where. And they were going down through it and they got to, it was Reserve Grand. They named Reserve Grand. And my younger brother, who lives in Amarillo, Texas, we picked him up on the way. He's shaking my arm, beating me up, going, my God, you won. And I looked at him, I said, Joe, no, I didn't. I said, dude, that was just now 3rd place. And he looks at me and then they name us first. And he's like, no, dude, that was 2nd. I didn't even realize we were the only ones left.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was just that surreal. Then we won it. We got up there. We had to go on to a second stage of cooking where we went against the sandwich champion, chili champion, different ones like that. Then at 1:00 in the morning, we had to pick up our stuff and move over to a parking lot in front of Caesar's Palace. We had to move and park there, which we were already cooking, because they told us we had to cook this or this, but something that we just finished. So we chose briskets and spare ribs. I took an extra brisket just out of pure luck, but I didn't take any extra ribs. So we're setting up on stage and they hand me the mic and says, is there anything you like to ask or tell anybody out here? And I went, I need ribs. And everybody's like, huh? And I'm like, I have no ribs for tomorrow. And I mean, the barbecue community came out of it. I bet when we got back to the trailer there, we had 20, 25 different slabs of ribs staring at us. Here, take this, take this. Awesome. It was unreal. It really was great. Yep. And the American Royal, that was before the Jack. We were sitting there and we had a good cook. We thought we had a good cook. Well, heck, we had a good year that year. There was nothing wrong with our year. We'd won 7 or 8 grands, and so we had a good year. We were sitting there. We went to the Royal, having fun. Went through the Invitational. Had a good cook. Just didn't turn out right as far as points. Anyway, we went to the Open. We got a couple calls, and we liked it. I mean, that's one of the only places you can get a perfect score in chicken and be in 4th place. There was that many perfect scores in chicken. Wow. Yeah, it was crazy. Anyway, we reserved it. And, the GOAT, Iowa Smoky D's, Darren Worth, they won the American Royal. And we're sitting there, and it's like, man, I told him, I said, dude, I screwed up my brisket. I did this and that. He said, oh, man, you'll get her down. I was like, yeah. Well, we went to the Jack. I won it. He reserved it.
Oh,
and afterward, yeah, it was just a total flip. And both of them was less than a half a point, both contests. Half a point flip. Yes.
Wow.
And Darren says, man, I screwed up my pork butt here. And I says, oh, my God. We just couldn't believe it. Where we were again. And he told me this. He says, well, dude, it's your turn to put up with these folks. I'm going to go have a drink. And he left to go get something to drink. And I'm sitting there having to do all the TVs and all that stuff because it is the Jack.
Yep.
And the surreal part was when we're sitting in our chairs and we think, you know how you're doing at a contest. You're playing it down in your head. Hey, so-and-so's had 3 calls. You've got 2. Man, they should be ahead of you. And they went through third. They got to second, and they named that. And Martin and I sitting there, and we took my son-in-laws went with us and a couple of really close friends. And they got down to announce the grand, and Martin and I was looking at each other, and I'm like, yeah, we named off 2 or 3 different people. We're like, man, they had 3 calls. They're in it still. Mm-hmm. And a really good friend of ours here from Oklahoma that got to go cook, he got up out of his chair and come walking over. And I said, Scott, don't you say a word. Don't you? And he got right back behind me and he put his hands on my shoulders and he said, come on, dude, you got this. I said, Scott, don't you say a word. And when they announced it, everything just blows up.
Yep.
That's the only way to say it. Everybody's cheering. Everybody's clapping. The group you're with goes nuts. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If you know my brother Martin at all, he never goes to the stage. He went to the stage at the Royal. That's probably only the second time. And at the Jack, I grab him and, dude, listen. I mean, I'll call a plum. Dude, tears were rolling as we're walking to the front. Everything just releases. It's just in you and it's coming out. We're going to the front. It's just like, wow, that is crazy, crazy. But that was a really fun win. It really was.
Yeah. And you see a video of yourself after walking up there and you're like, is that really me? You know, that's incredible.
You know, but man, we're running out of time. And there is one thing I do want to do, but we hadn't even got into, you know, obviously right here I have your steak and brisket rubs and get into.
I don't know if you see me try that.
Yeah, so what do you think?
It was awesome.
It was awesome, right?
That you brought that for me? Is that what?
The hell, stop.
I'll just put this over here.
But David, there is one thing I wanted to do, and I don't know how this is going to go over.
Oh, here we go.
Do you believe that imitation is the number one form of flattery?
Imitation?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so
we all got to learn something from somebody.
I just placed an order with Butcher Barbecue for a injector. So if you can reach into that cabinet behind you and inject yourself with some Butcher Barbecue Truth Serum, I got a couple quick questions for you. Now, you know the rules. I don't have to explain the rules to you.
Yeah.
So, Coke or Pepsi products?
Coke.
Sock or sock shoe guy?
Ooh.
Sandal sock.
Oh, twisted.
Okay.
House on fire. You have to choose one rub and one cooker. What's it going to be?
Grilling addiction. To me, that's a given. And probably my PG 500.
Awesome. Right. And the only reason I'm doing this is because I know for a fact it has only been turned on him once before in the history of his podcast. And the last one, if you could have lunch with anybody, who would it be?
It'd have to be my dad.
Amen.
I've said that before. That it would absolutely have to be my dad.
Yep.
Amen to that.
Amen to that for sure. Yep. Well, David, thank you, brother.
Absolutely.
I truly appreciate it. It's truly an honor to speak to you. Like I said, you are one of the inspirations for me to start my barbecue career and, my hobby or addiction, whatever you want to call it.
Both. Why not call it both?
Absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, we're going to have to do another episode because we need to get into all the array and lines of rubs, sauces, injections, injectors, all the gadgets and everything. But David, thank you, brother. I truly appreciate this.
Thank you so much, man. It's been an honor for sure. And I hope you don't mind that we're definitely going to ask you to come back.
I would be honored, and I'd say let's get on it.
Awesome.
All right.
Sounds good, man.
We'll get this booked for part 2. Awesome, David. Thank you.
Stuff.
Hang on
Thanks,
1 second. Well, that's it this week, folks. We'd like to thank you all for joining us. Catch the audio wherever podcasts are found. You can catch the video on Facebook and YouTube. On YouTube, hit the subscribe button and notification bell. You have all our episodes right there at your fingertips. On social media, find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram at Pit Life BBQ, and also...
Hey, check me out at the BBQ Broker on Instagram. I also have a Facebook page and our awesome group, New England Pit Masters, on Instagram and Facebook. And check out our hoodies. We have a hoodie order going until Friday. New England Pit Master hoodies. Go to the page, go to our Facebook group and check it out if you want one.
And the Pit Life BBQ community page has been blowing up.
It has.
Constantly. So,
thanks.
Thank you guys.
Absolutely.
Spread the word. You guys are awesome. Questions and comments, please send them to pitlifebbqpodcast@gmail.com. And like always, subscribe, like, rate, and review. Hit that share button.
Absolutely.
You guys are awesome. But
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. We're back. I told you we're ready to kick this door in this year. And, with David, we're going right from the top. And we're going to... The big things I got.
We're going to stay at the top.
We're going to stay at the top. Next week, tune in.
Yeah.
We have Mr. Steele from BBQ Champs Academy. Joining us. David himself has videos, Robbie Royal, amongst others, in it's a tell-all video series on the internet. You get your own login information, and they spill all the beans. So don't forget, tune in next week for
great show.
that.
Absolutely.
But until that, keep the smoke rolling.
You got it, guys.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Café, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.